back to the Small Business Show, where you get to hear the journey, find the challenge, and create solutions. I'm your host, Lori Brooks, and I thank you so much for joining me today. If you're enjoying the show, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Today, I am absolutely honored to welcome Leslie Capps to the show. Leslie is an international best-selling author, visionary course creator, and the mastermind behind Turn Your Story into Business Gold, the ultimate guide to telling stories that sell. Leslie is a trailblazer who helps entrepreneurs strategize, simplify, and scale their businesses using the power of their own unique stories and talents. With her proven methods, Leslie has helped countless clients achieve tenfold business growth organically and with ease, eliminating the overwhelm of endless courses and massive investments. Leslie's own journey is just as fascinating as the stories she helps others craft. From managing a multicultural center and leading sea kayak tours in Alaska to running a ranch and collaborating with the General Federation of Women's Clubs, she brings a rich tapestry of life experience to her work. Her passion lies in inspiring clarity, confidence, and connection, empowering others to unlock their full potential and transform their stories into gold. Leslie, welcome and thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, Lori, it is such a pleasure. I'm so delighted to be here with you.
I'm excited to dive into your journey. I can't wait to hear your story. But before we do, I want to hear a different story. I want you to bring us back to the beginning of the journey. I want you to think back to a time when maybe an aunt or an uncle or even a mentor at school may have asked you, Leslie, what do you want to be when you grow up? What was your answer to that question back then?
Oh my gosh. I think there was so many things, right? I loved animals and the outdoors, so I thought of veterinarian, but I also was like the brainy side, so I thought of lawyer. I tried out architect. And in fact, my mom joked that how did she always put this? Which, moms, you take it a little bit as a dig. I don't know if it was or not, but she said, "Oh, you've tried every major on the face of the planet." And I said, "Well, at least I can talk to anybody, right? Because I got a little bit of knowledge in everything. Because I tried geology, um, sciences until I hit organic chemistry, and that just totally nope, nope, no way. I prayed for a C. I was like, never again, never taken that chance. So yeah, there was lots of different things that I thought I might do, but I really was, I'll tell you the thing, and I didn't know how it would play out, but Gloria Steinem was always the voice in my head. And I grew up in a super conservative community, so I'm not sure how she got there, but once she did, like, right, you're kind of like, I don't know how that happened, but she's in there. So I always knew that I would somehow be involved in fighting for the underdog, however that looked. Um, and it took me on a crazy wild journey for sure. And I didn't see at young age how that would play out, right? Or how it could even, because that's kind of an esoteric thing. You're in Idaho, and how do you make movements or impact people or be in a place where you can make change?
Definitely. And pre-internet days, I'm assuming that is not the easiest thing to do in the middle of Idaho is start creating an impact on the face of the planet. So,
Right? Sometimes it's hard enough even with the internet, but
thank
yeah.
you. Exactly. So it's impressive to me that even at a young age, you recognized, you know what? Doesn't matter whether or not I stick to one thing, there are experiences, knowledge, clarity that I'm gaining from each and every bit of this journey along the way. So I love that you took that piece. And, even when your mom said what she said was, as far as I'm concerned, this is important because it's going to contribute to something later, regardless as to what that is. And that, I love that, Leslie, because I do try to stress that to the audience sometimes. Like, we don't know where the journey's going. None of us can see the future. We have no idea. So just enjoy the journey. Take the knowledge as it comes, suck it up, that hang on to it, categorize it if you need to, but just grab the knowledge as you see it come across and enjoy it as you move forward. For you, there was a spark. There was something that said, you know what? I want to do more. I want to take this further. So when that spark hit you and you recognized, okay, it's time to take a step into my own path. What did that look like for you? What were the voices that, your inner critic saying to you at this point? What was that moment for you that said, okay, entrepreneurial journey, this is the direction where I'm headed?
Right? Um, yeah, it's a shame, that I didn't have someone like you as a mother or a mentor to really shove me that direction earlier on. Even though my dad had a small business, it was a brick and mortar. And
Nice.
but 9 to 5, not gonna lie, was a jail sentence for me. I would go into jobs. I thought like working for a university, right? Running in a multicultural resource center. I thought that was it for me. But every like typical 9 to 5 job, because my brain is such that it's like, we can do this better. We can do this
Mhm.
faster. We can serve more people, right? If we do this and this and this.
Yeah.
And every single one of them, nope, always done it this way. Nope, always done it this way. And like I couldn't even conceptualize this. It didn't even make any sense to my brain. So at some point down the road, I was like, okay, we gotta leave the 9 to 5. That's never gonna work for me. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter whether I do nonprofits, um, work for the state, work for a university. It's really all the same.
Mhm.
Um, and I think sometimes too, that's hard for entrepreneurs because, we bring just like all those different aspects of myself, we bring all these aspects, all these skills to the table.
Mhm.
And how do we make it so that we can tell people what we can do for them instead of,
Mhm.
oh, I can help everybody? Nope. One, you can't. And two, we can't refer you. Yeah, we can't refer you to everybody. So that, yeah, right. Um, but yeah, so I think for me, it was just getting real with myself, right?
Mhm.
Recognizing like this isn't ever going to work no matter what I do.
Mhm.
I need to jump off the ledge and see what happens out there. So and
I
then
love
even that, the online entrepreneur journey is a journey.
that. Mhm.
So, yeah.
Yes, 9 to 5 can feel like a jail cell sometimes. It can feel like a very trapped scenario for some people. And for those who are watching, who are feeling that sense of, being trapped in that 9 to 5, that might be that calling. That might be that little voice in your head telling you there's something greater. There's a different journey out there for you. And it's not always clear at that moment, but that frustration alone of being in that position, it's something that people should wake up and kind of listen to a little bit more, because I think that's what pushes a lot of us towards the journey. I know that was definitely a calling factor in my own journey. As an entrepreneur, you tend to see certain things in corporations. As you mentioned, Leslie, we could serve more people, we could adjust this and do a better job in some way, shape, or form. And whatever that light bulb is for you that's come on, that's a solution in an industry that you could take and run with as an entrepreneur. And that, I think, is something that gives us that headache as we're in that 9 to 5 position, when we're seeing those light bulbs for ourselves come on, but don't know what the next step is beyond that, because corporate is continuing to stifle that moment. So what was that step for you, Leslie? Once you recognized, okay, I'm being stifled, I've got to go. I can't do this like this anymore. What were
Right.
some of those first steps? What was, of course, there's headaches, there's hiccups, there's, bright spots, but what were those first steps that you took, that you said, okay, this is how it begins? What do you feel like was the beginning of your journey?
So while I was still working, I decided to go the life coach route, right?
Yay.
I have a couple psychology degrees, so seemed like a natural fit. And I started writing a book, interestingly enough. Not gonna say that was my greatest piece of work, but and didn't know what I was doing, didn't, and it really wasn't clear on my story, right? Who I was helping, what benefits they were getting, all those kind of essential things that are important to a story.
Hmm.
So it was a little rough, but I was like, I'm just doing it. And, finally quit the job and went kind of full time. And it really was my struggles with marketing. I think that's one of the things that can be really difficult and intimidating
Yes.
because while I think people are natural marketers, when we start marketing ourselves, we get all weirded out. We get all in our heads about it. We're like, oh, it sounds like bragging, or I don't know what to say, or blah, blah, blah. Instead of, we're just humans and we do
Yeah.
know how to do this. Um, but what I discovered through that process and resolved my marketing issue was, wow, marketing, super cool, right? So I kind of morphed to marketing slash branding anymore because for me, they're kind of the same thing, maybe a little different umbrella, but they both
Hmm.
fit under there.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, that was, and I think, that was probably at the beginning of it's online businesses were not as big then, not as many resources as kind of pre the networking that goes on online. Um, so yeah, I think the other thing is isolation. It was kind of a lonely, who do you look to? You're looking to these gurus for help, and their deal is selling you stuff. They're not as concerned whether it works or not, right? They're not invested in that. So yeah, some hard lessons, but
Right.
then led me to a different path.
As you move through that portion of the journey where you were kind of inundated with the online gurus and the courses and so forth, what do you feel really helped you gain the clarity and kind of carve out that path and figure out what it was?
Right. I think honestly, uh tapping to your joy and
Mm,
your intuition. Likewise, like I discovered, I don't know if you're familiar with human design, kind of a big fan of it. Yeah. Um, so I'm a projector, which is 30% of the population, something like that. But for me, that was super enlightening because one, like I knew I never thought like anybody else. School was, while I did well in it, it was painful because they'd
mhm,
ask you, well, what do you think? I'm like, oh, really? Like, do I say what I think or do I say what I know they want me to think? Right. Um, yeah. So that created issues, but it really gave me the freedom to use my brain the way it's supposed to be used.
mhm,
Um, Yeah, and then so leaning into those skills, and there's some other limitations around that as well. So
mhm,
recognizing those. But really, I think the other thing was what brings me joy. Um, and yeah, marketing was the great thing because it brought me joy. It was always changing, it was super creative, but I also really tapped into my super skills. That and intuition, like intuition I work on all the time, right? Because I think it's one of
mhm,
those things like we're really tapped in, and then we kind of forget. Then we're really tapped in and kind of forget. Um, but if you can find that place, I think it opens doors, a little bit like we were talking ahead of the interview, getting clear on your messaging and stuff, and then combining it with mindset. Because
mhm.
mindset, honestly, I think I always knew for your business to grow, you must grow. I just never knew how freaking much you gotta grow, right? If at some point you're like, oh, seriously, I got so much character, I cannot take anymore. And yet it just keeps going on and on. So right. I think that
Oh,
really it is. This is when you become an entrepreneur, it is a really self-discovery journey. And
yes.
for each level, you're gonna have to peel back the onion. And
Mhm.
that at times that does feel like, and other times you're like, yeah, we're making progress. So
Mindset plays into everyone's journey and how making sure that you're aligned can actually propel you far further and far faster than I think a lot of people give it credit for. So I appreciate you mentioning that, mindset is one of the pieces that, I think gets ignored when you talk about business for the most part. There's a neglect to discuss the mindset piece that goes into all of this. You can go get all the tools, you can go get all the tactics, you can go find all the gurus you want. But if your mindset is not where it needs to be, none of it works. Until someone's mindset is in the right space and in the right place to really help themselves, the journey's not going to realistically take off. So, what do you feel like really helped you, Leslie, with gaining that mindset, gaining that clarity, keeping your, recognition on, okay, I got to follow my intuition, I got to listen to my gut. And then when you did start to listen to your gut, when you did say, okay, this is what I'm doing, what was it that made you continue, keep that connection to the intuition? Because that's not always easy either. I think, we might be able to tap into what our gut is telling us at one point in time, but the maintenance of that becomes the real challenge and the trick and the magic in the journey. So I'd love to hear.
yeah, no, I think that, so yeah, I'm with you. I believe mindset is so important. And you're right that trusting and continuing to trust, right, our gut or
Mhm,
our intuition, not just one day, but for long term.
mhm,
I think for me, well, one is story. Honestly, I'll bring it back to story a little bit. Is So I would always tell this story about trying out for the eighth grade boys basketball team because of Gloria Steinem, right? Because Title IX, Gloria Steinem, like we should be able to do that kind of stuff. And I think somebody dared me. So, right, yeah, threw down the gauntlet. I'm like, but I cannot not take it up. So it was really a traumatic experience for me. And I told that when I was in coaching, but what I came to realize was it left the audience in an odd place. They didn't get the connection. It made sense in my brain, but they didn't get it. But I needed to heal from that story. It was my trauma, and that wasn't the important part of the story for them to hear.
mhm,
So that was kind of some of the beginnings of, oh geez, I need to work on myself, right? And then that idea of creating habits around intuition, if you will, or gut, and how do
mhm,
we create the framework of mindset. So, I started doing a morning practice where you experience the four creation, the emotions of love, joy, peace, and gratitude. And that really shifted my mindset. I did start doing breath work, freaking amazing. If nobody's tried it, you ought to, because like you will never need to do drugs again. Trust me. There's all kinds of crazy stuff that happens. And this is your drug cabinet. Yeah, but really exploring different ways because emotions are one thing, right? We know they're stored in our bodies. And kind of like you alluded to, we know they're connected to dis-ease.
mhm,
So not only is it recognizing those and our mindset, how it's affecting our mindset, but then how do we move it through our body? How do we, stuff that's stuck, and how do we now begin to move it out?
yes,
So that probably was really the second part of
mhm,
um, I think that also allows you to connect to whatever you believe is above us, our higher
mhm,
power, however that looks for you, right? I think we're humans. We want to believe in something bigger outside ourselves.
mhm,
Um, that is, I don't know necessarily guiding because I always think we have choice, but presenting opportunities, listening to our inner dreams and thoughts. So, the other thing is when you start doing that stuff, all of a sudden you get ideas, you get
mhm,
bigger dreams, you want to live bigger, you want to do more. And I think that's part of what we're put on earth for is to have those dreams. And And maybe that's part of what 9 to 5 sucked out of me, was that dreaming that things could be better or different
Mm.
or bigger or bolder, whatever it was. Um, so yeah, that's kind of the things that I obviously step by step, right? But you're like, okay, what's the next step that's going to get me closer to where I think I want to be?
Hmm. Definitely. And what was that next step for you when you did go ahead and follow your gut, you followed your intuition, you said, okay, I'm going to start creating practices that keep me in this place of sparking joy, sparking, motivation and excitement. What were those next steps? What was that journey for you?
Well, I think that, so the thing that popped into my head um, about that next step, and there's probably more in between there, but just about a year ago, actually, I met a woman on social media. We connected over Christmas, and she said, I'm doing this project. It's 262 women in a book, all entrepreneurs.
Mm,
And there's like, I don't remember, there was 12 summits leading up to it. She said, after it, I have 2 additional summits and then 4 summits a year, a 5-year book tour. And
mm,
somehow in that conversation, she said she knew Gloria Steinem. I said, okay, I don't care what you're doing, how much it costs. Like, I'm just in for the ride, right?
right.
Yeah, it was like 1 degree of separation. Hells to the yeah, I'm taking that. Um, and that step for me has totally changed my life. I got then, because of that book, an opportunity to write my own book and take it to the Oscars gifting lounge. Now, I don't know about you all, but I that would have never in a million years ever made it onto my vision board. Not gonna lie. I'm not even sure, knowing now, right, that you could go, that would make it to my vision board. And somebody said, well, don't you think I have to think about time and resources? I was like, nope. If they say they will take me, all I got to think about is, will this take me one step closer to where I want to be in my business or as a person, or both, ideally. um yeah, and we can't know where that will go, but I also can't pass that up because I think it's going to get me one step closer.
And that's how life works. And that's how the journey is. I mean, you never have a clue where things are coming from. You never have a clue what the next step is going to look like. Nobody knows what the journey is going to play out to be. But
Right.
I personally find that to be one of the most exciting parts. I think it's more fun than anything else because who knows who you could meet tomorrow? Who knows where the book tour will take you? Who knows? The exciting things that come from this journey are not something we can predict. They're not something we can technically plan. And even when we do plan, the plans don't necessarily go as we lay them out. Okay. It's life, people.
Right? Yes, seldom. I'm always like, plan the plan so you can replan the
Yeah.
plan. It falls apart, right? Because it always does.
You got to get organized. You got to plan it out. But
Gotta
the
have a plan.
organization, there you go. But the organization of it will help you get through the part where the plan's eventually going to fall apart.
That's, yeah, that's my thought exactly too. I'm like, I don't do anything without a plan, realizing full well that 90% of the time the plan doesn't go as planned. Yeah.
Oh, goodness. I love it. Okay. So your journey has now brought you to being an international best-selling author and a coach and consultant. Please share with us all about your journey and your practice today.
Sure. Be glad to. Yeah, so I get to help entrepreneurs get clear on their story. And why that's important is because it really clarifies who you're looking for and what you do for them, not so much the how, because we get a little
Mhm.
hung up in the how. And I like to think about it like this: when you hire a carpenter to come in and build you a closet, you don't say, how are you going to do that? What tools are you going to use? Right? Or what are you going to do for measurements? No, you're trusting him that he knows how to
Mhm.
do it. Now, certainly in sales conversations, we might want a little how, but initially, we just want to know that you're a human being, that you connect with us emotionally. Easiest way to do that is through stories. And like I said, and one of the taglines that sort of came out of the book was, you're looking for the story that only you can tell, because there are
Mm-hmm.
stories that you're the only one on the face of the planet that has that particular story. And that is what makes you so unique and so special. And then we build everything around that, right? So really helping you get clear on that. If you call it value proposition, which I know like jargonese, and I tell people not to use that, right? But that kind of core. And then how do you build that now to do podcasts, to write books, to um, build nonprofits? Like the sky is the limit. I think that's the other exciting thing I get super jazzed about marketing is, it used to be TV, only stars got on TV, right? Only stars got on radio. Only, yeah, people with these incredible life stories wrote books. Nope. It's all available to you. And while I think sometimes that can be overwhelming, it's also super exciting, because then you can lean into what is it that, where do I want to give my focus? And what is it where I can really shine and
Mm-hmm.
show people how to do whatever it is that you're teaching them. It's all about really helping people be them best selves. The other thing, we've addressed this a little bit, is this inner story. How do we get the inner story as well as the outer story both moving in the right direction? A lot of times I work with people and they'll say, okay, I have this level of success and I want you to do something more. Okay, let's build the story. Ooh, that's kind of scary. I don't know if I can step into that. Yeah, you can. And yeah, you got to. So how do we get you to that point where you can? For
Mm-hmm.
crying out loud, Beyonce, rock star, gazillionaire, she needed an alter ego. So there's no reason like us humans, because yeah, she's superhuman, right? Wouldn't need an alter ego too. So yeah, just really helping people do those kind of things, whether it's just that beginning or let's take it and let's scale this baby big.
You are helping people step into their full selves and really reach their true potential. Get clear on who it is they're honestly serving. Get clear on their story so that the people they're storing that if I could speak, so that the people that they're serving can understand that they're serving them. So no, what you're doing is outstanding. I absolutely love it. Obviously, in this day and age, storytelling is probably the one way to actually get your marketing across without it being just pitching to people left and right. So, if you are looking to build your brand, if you're trying to move into your journey, you're trying to get clear on this story of your own, I suggest you reach out to Leslie sometimes.
I love
Les-
that. I'm gonna hire her.
You're so cute. So, if you had the ability to say, go back to a time when you had yet to start really looking at building out your journey, before you really started listening and paying attention to your intuition, before you really started focusing, if you could have told yourself just one thing, what do you feel like you would have told yourself back then?
Hmm, interesting. Um, hmm. I think I think I would have told myself a lot sooner, right? To step into my voice,
Mm,
step into my, because of that disconnect with the projector brain.
mhm.
Um, yeah, so yeah, I can't tell you how many times when I did actually speak out and people like, you know, either they didn't get it or like never occurred to them or whatever. But I do think that I would tell myself to, I guess if I'd known I was a projector then, so yeah, I would have, and I assume I could have figured that out. Like I was into all that stuff and some reason didn't find that. But I would say to hold on to that eighth grade girl because she kind of got squashed there at times. Uh, that feisty, oh yeah, I'll show you person. Um, but on the other hand, I think this is always such a hard question because like I love where I am now. I love who I
Mhm.
am now. So I don't know, yeah,
Mm,
how can you say? But that would have been the thing I would have told that my younger self. How
I
about
like
you?
that. That's a good question, Leslie.
All right, folks, let's just turn it back on Lori.
That's funny. Nobody's ever asked. You know what? I honestly am going to say I am going to take the words of previous guests and almost similar to what you just mentioned now, but made more famous than anything else by Nike themselves. Just do it. Just do it. That I think is probably the resounding thing that I would have told myself way back when because I stumbled and I waited and I debated and I came in and out of corporate and and you go back and forth. But if I had just done it, the journey would have been so different. You can never know. You never know.
Right?
It is what it is.
Yeah.
So, but this show is really designed to hopefully help the audience come up with an idea for a business and an industry that they might not have been thinking of before they started watching the episode. So, Leslie, I'd love to know, as a master storyteller, as a coach, if you had that magic wand and could wave it and change anything, what do you feel like you would change?
I don't know if this is industry, but here is what I would change for people. Because I had this experience recently, and it's kind of related to what we've talked about, right? A woman I worked with, she wanted to scale her business. And I said, well, let's get crazy. Whose podcast would you like to be on? And like, I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about this. And she said, Julia Louise Dreyfus. I was like, okay. So, we talked about a strategy of how to like begin moving into Julia's word. So when I knew I was going to write this book, I reached out to her. I said, would you like to do a quote in the book? And she ghosted me. As it turned out, maybe, I don't know, 3 weeks after that, I actually met women who had interviewed Julia Louise Dreyfus on their podcast. So the lesson that I took, and the lesson that I hope you all listening will take, is again, if there is something that can move you even 5 inches closer to whatever your goal is, um, you should take that opportunity. If like this much, like 2 inches of a door opens, you
Mhm,
should kick that door open and take that opportunity.
mhm.
um, that would be what I would like to see change, is more of us, right, going, ooh, I don't know, I'm gonna take that chance.
I love that, Leslie. I absolutely love that. And I hope you all heard that. Start kicking down the doors when you see them cracked. What are you waiting for? Don't peek. Kick it down. Go through it. Grab the opportunity and run with it, please, people. Leslie and I are begging you, like literally right now on this episode.
Yeah, right, we're gonna start a revolution. People will be kicking doors down everywhere.
Oh, goodness, Leslie, you have been outstanding. I so enjoyed this chat. I thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh,
Please,
thank you for having me. You just delightful, yeah, and what fun.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It was fun. Please share the best way for our viewers to find you.
Sure, you can, all the regular social channels, right? But you can also, my company is actually Wild Woman Marketing. You can reach out to me at Leslie at wildwomanmarketing.com. Or, like I said, connect with me on social media. I also have a book coming out in, let me see, like 10, 11 days now. So yeah, look for that on Amazon. It has a workbook attached to it. So you can actually read it and then start working on your story kind of side by side if you want to.
That is outstanding. I look forward to putting the link to both your website and the book on Amazon on the show notes page. Leslie, I thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.